In recent days, a video has emerged that appears to show a United States airstrike on a military base in Minab, a city in southern Iran. The location of the strike is alarmingly close to an elementary school, where Iranian state media report that more than 160 girls lost their lives. The implications of this evidence have shocked the international community and raised urgent questions about accountability in war. CNN correspondent Isabel Young examined the footage carefully. According to her analysis, the missile captured in the video exhibits characteristics consistent with a Tomahawk cruise missile. Weapons experts consulted by CNN emphasize that these missiles are a hallmark of U.S. military operations. Israel, they clarify, does not deploy Tomahawk missiles, meaning that the evidence points directly to the United States. This revelation is particularly significant because it challenges the official statements made by U.S. authorities in the immediate aftermath of the incident. In interviews following the initial reports, U.S. officials denied any responsibility, attributing the strike to Iran itself. However, the newly surfaced video offers the clearest visual evidence to date that the strike originated from U.S. military assets. The incident in detail. The video shows a missile impacting the Revolutionary Guards base in Minab. In freeze-frame captures, the missile's wings and tail configuration are clearly visible, matching those of a Tomahawk missile. Geolocated satellite imagery confirms the proximity of the strike to the school, suggesting that the attack was extremely precise, or, conversely, that the school was dangerously close to a legitimate military target. Satellite analysis shows that the missile struck the military base almost simultaneously with other strikes on surrounding structures. This precision targeting is consistent with the type of operations the U.S. military conducts, but it also raises difficult ethical questions when civilian structures are so close to military installations. CNN's investigation is ongoing. Ground-level verification is complicated due to the conflict zone, and until remnants of the munitions are recovered, definitive confirmation remains elusive. U.S. Central Command has confirmed that they are investigating the incident, emphasizing the complexity of determining responsibility in such cases. Expert analysis, retired Lieutenant General Mark Schwartz. To contextualize the gravity of the situation, CNN spoke with retired U.S. Army Lieutenant General Mark Schwartz, who also serves as a military analyst. General Schwartz stressed that while accidents and tragedies occur in war, the appearance of such an incident is profoundly serious. In war, no one sets out to deliberately target civilians, at least not in U.S. military doctrine, he explained. However, he noted, the Iranian government is using the incident as propaganda, highlighting the deaths of children to rally domestic and international opinion. He emphasized the importance of allowing a thorough investigation before drawing conclusions. General Schwartz detailed how intelligence and targeting protocols work in modern warfare. Typically, targets are selected after a careful analysis of patterns of life, which includes monitoring activity via satellites, drones, and other surveillance systems. Even so, intelligence is never perfect. Mistakes can happen, and civilian casualties, while unintended, remain a tragic reality of war. Schwartz recounted his own experiences approving strikes that unfortunately led to civilian deaths. He stressed that transparency and accountability in such incidents are crucial to minimizing future harm. Lessons learned from past conflicts, including Afghanistan, highlight the importance of maintaining public trust and demonstrating ethical conduct in military operations. Historical context and precedents. The Minab strike is reminiscent of past incidents involving civilian casualties in conflict zones. A notable example is the 2015 U.S. airstrike on the Doctors Without Borders hospital in Kunduz, Afghanistan. Initially, the U.S. government provided conflicting accounts of the attack, which killed dozens of patients and medical staff. Eventually, President Obama personally apologized, and compensation was offered to the families affected. Military investigations followed, and some careers were affected, though critics argued that the consequences were insufficient. Such precedents illustrate the importance of accountability from the top levels of government. Former Defense Secretary Leon Panetta, who served under President Obama, has emphasized that the first casualty of war is often truth. A failure to acknowledge mistakes can erode credibility, both domestically and internationally. In the Minab case, the stakes are high. The death of so many children at a single school exacerbates tensions, undermines diplomatic efforts, and strengthens hardline positions within Iran. Experts warn that such incidents may inadvertently solidify the very regime that opposing forces seek to challenge. Political repercussions. The political ramifications of the Minab strike are immediate and far-reaching. Iran has used the incident to frame the United States as a deliberate aggressor targeting civilians. International observers, human rights organizations, and media outlets are calling for a transparent investigation to determine accountability. Within the United States, the administration faces pressure to respond credibly. Miscommunication or premature statements can worsen the situation, potentially fueling anti-American sentiment in the Middle East. Analysts argue that failure to acknowledge errors in military operations can damage long-term strategic objectives, as seen in Afghanistan and Iraq. Furthermore, the strike raises questions about the rules of engagement and adherence to international humanitarian law. The proximity of the school to the military base underscores the inherent risks when military operations occur near civilian areas. Experts stress that careful planning, real-time intelligence, and stringent oversight are necessary to prevent tragedies like this. Technical analysis of the strike weapons experts highlight several aspects of the missile strike that suggest a high degree of precision. The simultaneous targeting of multiple structures near the school indicates sophisticated guidance systems, typical of Tomahawk cruise missiles. The missile's flight path, impact pattern, and structural damage are consistent with this type of weaponry. However, precision does not eliminate risk. In densely populated areas, even the most accurate weapons can cause catastrophic civilian casualties. Analysts note that while U.S. military doctrine prioritizes minimizing civilian harm, the realities of war make some degree of collateral damage almost inevitable. The Minab strike, therefore, becomes a case study in the challenges of modern warfare, balancing military objectives with the ethical imperative to protect innocent lives. The incident highlights the need for continuous improvement in intelligence gathering, targeting protocols, and operational transparency. Eyewitness accounts and local impact. Eyewitnesses describe a terrifying scene in Minab. Survivors report a sudden, massive explosion near the school, followed by widespread chaos. Parents, teachers, and students recount frantic attempts to evacuate the area amidst falling debris. Hospitals were overwhelmed, and local authorities struggled to manage the aftermath. The emotional impact of such events cannot be overstated. Communities traumatized by the loss of children may experience long-term psychological effects. Schools, hospitals, and other civilian institutions may become targets of fear, disrupting education, healthcare, and daily life. These human costs add another layer of complexity to assessing military decisions and strategic outcomes. International reactions and accountability. Internationally, calls for accountability are growing louder. The United Nations and various human rights organizations have urged a transparent investigation into the strike. Legal experts emphasize that even unintentional civilian casualties must be scrutinized under international law to ensure that those responsible are held accountable. Transparency is critical. Without credible investigations, mistrust between nations deepens and propaganda flourishes. Iran has already framed the incident as a deliberate attack on children, which may influence global public opinion and complicate diplomatic relations. Countries involved in conflicts must adhere to stringent standards of evidence, reporting, and accountability. Independent verification, including forensic analysis of missile remnants and satellite imagery, will be essential to establish the facts and guide subsequent political and legal actions. Lessons for future military operations. The Minab strike underscores the importance of stringent safeguards in military operations. Experts recommend the following measures to prevent similar tragedies. Enhanced intelligence verification. Ensure multiple sources confirm target information before any strike. Minimizing civilian risk. Establish buffer zones around civilian infrastructure, even if near military installations. Real-time surveillance. Utilize advanced drones and satellite imagery to monitor strikes as they happen. Transparent investigations. Conduct immediate and thorough investigations when civilian casualties occur. Public accountability. Maintain open communication with the global community to prevent misinformation and propaganda. While war inherently involves risk, lessons learned from incidents like Minab can reduce future civilian casualties and improve international credibility. Conclusion. The new video showing a missile strike near a girls' school in Minab, Iran, has generated intense scrutiny and debate. Weapons experts, military analysts, and journalists emphasize that the footage is the clearest evidence, yet suggesting U.S. involvement, though official confirmation remains pending. The tragedy has claimed over 160 young lives, prompting widespread outrage and calls for accountability. Former military leaders and policymakers stress the importance of transparency, ethical conduct, and adherence to international law. Historical precedents demonstrate the consequences of failing to acknowledge mistakes, from public distrust to long-term strategic setbacks. As investigations continue, the Minab strike will likely serve as a case study in the complex realities of modern warfare, where precision technology intersects with human vulnerability. The world watches closely, seeking answers and accountability for one of the most devastating incidents in recent Middle Eastern conflicts.